Boom, boom. Okay. Okay. This is Bridges for Music. Welcome to the Bridges for Music podcast, a series of conversations with artists, music industry friends, and other relevant figures. This podcast is managed by us, the students of the Bridges Academy in South Africa. My name is Yamgela, also known as Yams. For those that are new to this podcast, Bridges for Music is a non-profit organization mobilizing the music industry for social impact and diversity. Special focus is on empowering young talent from under-resourced communities through new education programs and the construction of creative schools. Would like to take this opportunity to thank our friends at Pioneer DJ for making this podcast possible. Pioneer DJ has been a committed patron of Bridges for Music from day one. For more information on how to get involved or apply for our programs, visit bridgesformusic.org. We're starting this podcast with two globally respected artists, Richie Hawtin and Black Coffee, recorded live at our very first workshop in 2013 at the Kliptown Youth Centre in Soweto, Johannesburg. This was the very first tour organized by Bridges for Music in South Africa with the aim of bringing inspiration to the local community of Kliptown. We want to thank Bob Maneng for their endless hospitality, as well as Don't Look Down for the top-notch production support. Without further ado, please enjoy the conversation between Richie Hawtin and Black Coffee, moderated by Valentino Baraseta and Trenton Birch.
Thanks for coming today to this first workshop series, Bridges for Music workshop series with Richie Hawtin, Black Coffee. Vinny Da Vinci was before here. It's a real pleasure to be here. I have to thank to the Kliptown Youth Center again and to Bob, his manager, to host us here because it's an amazing location and we have felt very, very welcome here. Starting on my left, Trenton Birch from SAE Cape Town, running the Breathing Sunshine conference in April in Cape Town, and running also Black Mango. On the second position, Richie Hawtin, directly from Europe to play his first African tour. And Mr. Black Coffee, who most of you obviously know already, and who is a local legend. I have to say that for us it's a dream to start with these two guys sitting on the couch, and also with Vinny for sure, because they basically share all the values of our organization. They are pushing their scene to move forward, they are sharing their knowledge, and they are always open to listen to new ideas to support electronic music, which is what is our aim. I know you played your first gig in Africa yesterday, and I think everyone here wants to know how was that?
Yeah, well, it was the first time I ever sent out a Twitter message before I went on stage saying that I was absolutely nervous. You know, I'm always nervous, but I never tell everybody that I'm nervous. I spent many years waiting to come down here, over 10 years, talking to Glenn and some other people, and it was never coming together. And perhaps, in the end, that was for a good reason, because coming down this time, it's beyond just music, actually, and it's beyond just gigs, and I'm getting to see a little bit more of what South Africa really is about. Not only the cities, the townships, the touristic things, and of course the clubs and nightlife. So, I'm only here for 6-7 days, but it's already touched me and gives me a little sense of how deep and rich the cultures are here in the history. And I've already learned a lot and hoping to learn more. So thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, come on. Don't be shy.
And actually, I didn't answer the question. So the question was, how was the gig?
Yeah, exactly. What's going to ask?
The gig was absolutely amazing. We had, so many people in front freaking out, smiling. The energy, the anticipation was on another level. And many of the friends I'd met the last couple of days, a couple of the crazy guys from Langham Township were basically jumping on stage and trying to dance with me, and was yeah, a beautiful experience.
Good. Nati, we have heard that your set at the Boiler Room in Cape Town was amazing. How was that experience?
It was cool. I was a bit freaked out, at first when I walked in, because I've never played in a club where you don't look at your crowd. The setup there is quite weird, but I understand it's for the internet mostly. And so I was playing with my back towards the dance floor, basically. So I had to just listen, to the guys behind me, just to know I'm doing something right, But I had an awesome time. I felt like I was just practicing in studio, like doing a set on my own, But I got the energy and yeah, I enjoyed it.
For those who don't know what Boiler Room is one of the leading platforms on streaming live sessions from DJs all over the world. And basically, it's a very small venue. They host it in Cape Town as a pre-party of the Cape Town Electronic Music Festival. And it's streamed all over the world. Basically, the DJ stands with his back to the crowd. And it's like Nati said, playing in a bedroom. So, obviously, this... why did you decide now, Rich, to come for the first time to Africa? Not only to South Africa, but also to Africa?
Well, the opportunity that you and I spoke about coming to go beyond gigs. I think, a lot of things are, happening. I'm getting older, so you want to perhaps make a difference more than you have, or you think you have. I spent 20, 25 years traveling the world and touching people through music, through frequencies, sonically, but I don't actually get to speak to people. Sometimes I'm actually talking to them through music and I can't even speak the language, which has been amazing. But right now, electronic music's getting bigger, DJs are getting more famous, and one of the things it's actually doing is starting to push us away from the crowds. We're on bigger stages, there's more hype, there's more fame, and the electronic music community was always very small and tight to me. And so I wanted to kind of go against that grain, and as I've become more popular, use that popularity to get actually closer to the people, to take a step off the stage, and to learn more about the people, the communities, the cultures of where I've been traveling. Of course, I've been doing that, but in a deeper way. And so, Valentino started talking to me about Bridges for Music and this opportunity, and it was a no-brainer. It was an amazing opportunity, and it's been beyond my expectations.
So, Nati, obviously you are a local legend, and we are very proud to have you as an ambassador as well as for the project. What important role do you think music is playing actually in this country, and especially in these communities?
As a South African, I've experienced how much South African people love music. I think it's one thing that our country loves more than anything else, collectively. And I've seen the effect the music has on people, whether I'm in Joburg or in another city in South Africa, And I've always longed for an opportunity as well to be able to speak. I'm not much of a speaker, I believe my music does more for me than me like sitting down here and talking. But I've always wanted an opportunity to speak to the people, and share my story, man, and hopefully inspire, people that actually think they can't get to a certain level in music, But music being the center, of Bridges for Music, there was no way I was going to miss the opportunity to be part of this whole thing. And it's been very fulfilling from the Cape Town workshop that we did, to actually talk to the people and listen and hear their fears and also learn from them. For me, it's such an amazing thing.
Thanks for being on board, bro.
Yeah, thanks.
I remember when I was coming up in the Detroit scene. You know, I was 17, even 16 at the time, 1987, 1988, and there wasn't this worldwide scene of electronic music. It was just starting. It was kind of cool in England, Germany a little bit, but just down the street from Windsor, Ontario, in Canada, where I lived, about 15 minutes driving, I would go over the bridge or under the tunnel and go to Detroit. And at this time, I would just go over there and you know, go to a radio station, go to a club. There I met this guy called Derek May, who was like this, you know, crazy guy. I never saw someone with so much energy. You know, gave me his record, was telling me what he was trying to do. You know, Kevin Saunderson used to come down to the club when I started to DJ and say, hey, this is this new inner city. You know, this is a test version. It's actually for those of you who know records, it wasn't even vinyl. It was a metal plate. So it was really a test version of a new inner city. Hey, check this out. What do you think? You know, play it. So there was this direct communication between those, you know, innovators and just all of us, because the scene was about 500 people. So it was a small community. Everyone shared their ideas. Everybody wanted to see electronic music go somewhere. And as it's become this huge scene, we have to remember to stay in contact and keep this community as a community.
So after spending here already like 3-4 days in South Africa, would you see any similarities between the local scene with your scene in Detroit or in Windsor when you were in your early years?
Yeah, well, you know, what I'm seeing just in the, you know, the townships we've been going through is just that strong sense of community and family. And if you tie that together with music, that's how any scene develops. You know, when one of the first clubs I went to was called the Music Institute, which was run by Derek May and Kevin Saunderson. And, you know, it seemed like a huge club. But when I look back now, it was probably about 200 people. And that was really the whole scene of Detroit techno kind of in the world, you know. It was just happening there. It was mostly, you know, it was mostly African Americans. You know, my brother and I were maybe 3 or 4 of the white guys came up, you know, who were there. And we were definitely the only 2 kids from Canada who were coming over. And at that time, you know, going to Detroit as a white kid from Canada, you know, most of my friends thought we were crazy. Most of my friends' parents wouldn't allow their kids to go to Detroit. So here we're there, and it didn't, you know, for my brother Matthew and I, it was just like we were there because we love music, and we were accepted because we were there because we love music. There was no, you know, difference by the way we looked, by the way we dressed, by the color we were. It was about techno. And that was the beginning of it for me.
So Nati, you had also to face your own issues and circumstances in your early years, and you told us the other day in the workshop at Langa that you had also to move to Joburg and search for your opportunity. How did that happen?
When I started being serious with music, I was in Durban. I was studying music. Actually, one of my lecturers from school is here. Natalie, she was one of my teachers.
Big applause.
For me, that was the first time I really got involved in music, and I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do with music. I was a DJ, not a serious club DJ. You know, I was a DJ, playing at small parties and stuff like that. You know, I knew that I wanted to be DJ, but musically, I didn't know whether I'd end up being a producer or I'll do music as a film music, or I'll you know what I'm saying? I didn't know exactly what to choose in music, but I was just there. And as time went, I realized that I was more stronger in production in school. You know, everything else, I wasn't that good. Yeah, Natalie. I wasn't that good, except for the studio stuff. You know, when it came to studio work, because that's where I spent most of my time. Actually, what I did, I'll tell this story because they won't do anything to me now. I stole a key. I stole a key from school because I was doing a preaching course. So bridging course students and first-year students were not allowed in studio. Only second-year students were allowed and third-year students. And so I used to just sit there with the second years and hang around and trying to see what they were doing. So one day I was sitting and I saw the key. It was during the day, and I took the key. I went to a locksmith, made my own copy. I came back. I put the key back. I went home. I was so excited. I couldn't wait, to get to studio. But I didn't even know how to switch on the computer. So I had my own set of keys, and I would go there every afternoon, literally lock the door, switch off the lights so no one can see that I'm there. I didn't know how to use the program. I didn't know anything. And I started fiddling around, and, I started making songs, and I thought they were rocking, and then I'll come back the following day, listen to the music, and it was whack. And I'll sit again and maybe do 15 songs a night, and I thought, I'm doing it. The following day I go back, they were terrible, but I was there, and I was trying to a point where when I was doing my first year, Bruce, who was teaching the studio staff, when he was stuck in the studio, they would literally call me because I knew more of the studio, I knew everything about the studio, and but for me, that was just me trying to find myself. I was there trying to find myself, and when I did, I wanted to incorporate the production with the DJing. That's how it started. And then I was collecting records, and at times I would look for certain records that I wouldn't find. Then I started creating music that would sound like the records I was looking for. With time, I tried and mastered that, and I think that's how actually it became, because I wanted to make songs that I can play on my sets and actually tell everyone that's my song,
So, sorry to interrupt you, but how important would you say that production is actually in your career and in the career of any musician that wants to break through?
It's very important, not taking away the fact that not everyone is supposed to be a producer, Vinny Da Vinci, he's one of the best DJs we have in the country, and he's not a music producer. So I don't want to also put that strain on people that you have to produce music. I think it comes naturally, and if you have it, then with time you grow. And if you don't, forget about it, stick to DJing, master that, So when I was doing production, then the opportunity to move to Joburg came. And that's why I'm here, man. I came here to chase dreams, and I'm still chasing them.
Can I just ask?
Well done.
We talk about scenes and developing scenes, and obviously...
Yo, man, forgot about you. Sit like this.
I've been in the back. Obviously the different cities inspire different genres of music, whether it's New York and hip-hop and Detroit and techno. So how important, and in Cape Town yesterday we talked about how you moved, or on Thursday, how you moved to Johannesburg, and a lot of the Cape Townians were like, well, we're not going to Johannesburg, we're staying here. How were those experiences in terms of you crossing the border all the time to go to Detroit? How important was it for you to be part of an emerging scene as opposed to trying to create one where you were?
Yeah, well, I think at the end of the day, you're trying to find like-minded people. If in your community, if you don't find the people who kind of connect with you with similar ideas, or that you kind of, you just kind of, feel comfortable around, then you're going to go a little bit further to find them. And in Windsor, Ontario, like I said, most people didn't know what electronic music was. We had one good record shop, but that was it. So I was looking, I didn't find what I was looking for in Windsor. So I ended up going over the border. I started going to clubs. I started hearing this music, this electronic music, and I kind of found my calling by accident. I met these people, I heard these sounds, I felt this feeling of the music, of the feeling of how passionate the people who were listening to it, who were dancing, and you just followed that, that path. So, yeah, it's it's fine to say, okay, well, stay in your home community, but you need people around you to help you. You need friends and supporters and like-minded people. So, that's how you're going to get to another level.
And Rich, then you decided to move to Berlin, which was also a very important step in your career. How did that happen?
Yeah, well, I had been in the Detroit and Windsor area all of my life. I felt that musically I had got to a place that I needed new, fresh inspiration. For me, Detroit techno was always about the future. I was looking for the new sound, a new rhythm, a dream of how optimistic, of how the future could sound. And so after a while, that search took me to new places all over the world. And the last 8 years, I found new inspiration in Berlin. And to me, that kind of reinvigorates that original idea of Detroit techno. It's a futuristic sound. You have to change, you have to evolve. And you never know where your life or music is going to take you. But you have to follow your heart and, follow your passion and your dream and nearly let it take you where it's going to take you. It's a journey. Yeah, that's what, there was ideas, but finally that pathway has brought us down here, for the idea was good, the feeling was good, and you can't fight that. You can plan everything in your life, but you can't plan life. You never know.
Let it flow. So, Rich, you have been known for being one of the most forward-thinking artists in the world, and you have always tried to offer something more than just a DJ set. You did Contact many years ago, then you did Plastic Man again, which was a superb show. What can we expect from your show tonight at Truth?
When I was a kid, I drove my parents completely crazy because, every 2 weeks I wanted to be something else. And, it was mostly creative stuff. I wanted to be into special effects, cinematography. I tried to make movies and music and electronic music, because of its use of technology that kept changing and evolving, it's been the only thing that has kept my attention. And, so that's why I continue to try to challenge myself and sometimes happen perhaps to be innovative or whatever. It's just of that desire to keep myself energized and inspired. So, tonight, I have a setup of digital technology, computers. I run Ableton. I run Native Instruments Tractor. You guys won't be able to see, but I have this little foot pedal behind me, which I can do special effects with. I have a Machina, so I can do drum programming. And then I press start and I see where I go.
And it explodes.
If you want to listen to these conversations live and have access to this incredible community, you can join us at our physical campus, the Bridges Academy in Langa, South Africa. A revolutionary learning space where you will find courses on music, entrepreneurship, film, DJing, and much more. For more information on how to apply, visit bridgesacademy.org.
We will go into the technical stuff a bit later, and Rich is going to explain us exactly his DJ setup and what we can expect tonight. But I would like also to give to the audience a picture of the whole team you have behind, which is incredible and has a great energy, and which is also part of your show every night, and it's going to be also today here. So maybe you want to introduce who is with you and what exactly are they doing?
Well, there's always been, everybody needs a team, whether it's when I first started out, I had this great friend. Some of you guys may know the name. His name's Kenny Larkin, and he made one of his first records on Plus 8. He worked on Transmat. But Kenny was actually my #1 fan. When I used to play, before, I played at the beginning of the club, before anybody was there, Kenny Larkin was running around, and my name was Richie Rich then. And he was like, Richie Rich, Richie Rich. And everybody would start getting excited. They didn't know who I was, but he was my first, gang member, my team member. And over the years, you as you travel, you try to find, again, like-minded individuals, many of them friends, to, continue your dream and to, hopefully entertain and inspire people around the world. So, Ali Demerel is with me tonight, who's doing the visuals. My friend Johannes Kramer's here to make sure the sound is absolutely incredible. It's Thomas and Philip are here from Minus, helping me run my record label and hopefully maybe reaching out to some new artists and making sure we listen to those demos that we receive. So, the old saying of, there's always a bigger team, behind, any successful person, And it's also great, then I get to travel the world with my friends and cool people and experience all these things, together.
It becomes a family in a way.
Yeah.
So I would like to compare in a way, Nati, what you have done recently with Africa Rising, which has been a huge success. And I think you have also tried, as Rich has done in the past, to move your DJ set to something else and to cross over from electronic music to other genres as well. Can you tell us a bit more about this experience? How was it?
The Africa Rising so far is like the biggest thing like we've ever done. When I was still in high school, I was involved I was in a choir. So I was doing choral music. We had our own a cappella groups. When there's teachers around, we do gospel music. When there's chicks around, we do R&B. But I've always been around music in that way. And so when I started DJing, I've always wanted to incorporate myself in music. I mean, in what I was doing as a DJ. So I've always wanted to do house music with classical music because, I've experienced classical music. So, I mean, once we were talking with Glenn, who's here, about doing a concert, because we realized also how huge house music is in South Africa, but no one was really doing something amazing with it. We used to do shows in Swaziland, the New Year's Eve parties there, and the whole country will come, basically, And we would be there just doing like a normal hour and a half sets, And me and Glenn had this vision that, how about we do something amazing, and I told him, look, I've always wanted to do something like this with an orchestra, and, so we went ahead and started preparing, and it took us quite a long time to get it together, So African music is one of those very rare moments in the house music history, especially in South Africa, where, it's a full 2-hour set of a DJ with a 24-piece orchestra, different musicians singing on stage, and a band, we actually now are trying to do other shows, We're trying to stage it again, hopefully we'll bring it here in Soweto and do another show. But for me as an artist, it was a mixture of so many different things. It was something I would never would have been able to do alone. I needed a Glenn to have his own vision as a guy who has a production company, to bring his knowledge in that, and it's a mixture of so many elements, But in the end, I mean, like Rich was saying, with the team, we were both able to achieve it,
And are you now considering moving it to Europe or touring around the world with that show?
We want that, We've had inquiries already. There's a festival in Switzerland. We're talking to some people in France as well who wanna do the show. For us, that's the plan. To be able to tour the world and share this kind of music with the world.
I got a question for Richie, if I may. I'm still here. In terms of you've developed your show into almost a theatrical experience. The competition DJ-wise internationally is incredibly large. How important is it to do something like that, to bring in visual elements and VJs and visuals, to elevate yourself, to give yourself point of difference?
Yeah, it is important, but it isn't necessary. There has to be, you've got to learn to walk before you can run. And if there's not a strong foundation of music underneath any of these big shows, then you kind of lose the point. You lose the passion. You lose the soul of it. And people, I think, can hear that. They can see that. So, I would, definitely say to younger DJs or producers, not to bite off too much, too soon. As I spent 20 years nearly DJing on turntables, and then found that it didn't challenge me so much anymore. So then I started to go to computers because it, reinvigorated, re-inspired me. But it took a long time to get to that point, to kind of go through turntables and learn that as an art form. So that's what you have to, you can just be up there with, anything, whether it's a clarinet or a trumpet or a guitar or drum or, two turntables. But if you don't know how to use that instrument, if you can't take yourself through it and come through that piece of that instrument in your own unique way, then nobody's really, that's what you need to do. That's when it's going to elevate to another level. So it's a lot of time and hard work and dedication to get to that point.
What would you say to South African producers and artists in terms of the stepping out of the African continent and getting on into Europe and playing gigs there? Because I know I lived in London for a while, and one of the things I was searching for South African music, and I was hearing Black Coffee starting to get played on the radio stations there. But online, we were still in a bit of a bubble here. We didn't realize how important it was to do that. Do you have any advice in terms of steps to take?
Well, I think the biggest step is to bring your friends and like-minded people together. When we said that in Cape Town the other day. This room here is a collection of people from all over the place. Different colors, different backgrounds, different histories, different ages, but somehow you're tied together by music, and probably most of you electronic music. So you all have a relationship, a bond. So sounds kind of cheesy. A friend of mine said this before, but look around you. And probably some of the people who can help you take that next step are right here. Make a strong community, make a strong connection. 2, 3, 4 people. This has more weight. This can start a wave that now goes as far as Europe. Just splashing in the pool by yourself may not reach there. May just reach to Namibia or somewhere. So that's pretty far too, I guess. But
Rich says this because
the door has been opened. People around the world are focusing their attention on South Africa, not just Joburg. They're starting to talk about Cape Town and other places, and so we should band together in all these different communities and continue this wave that's already is already being felt on faraway shores.
I think it's a really important point. I think one of the challenges we have in our industry at the moment is we're still quite polarized. We approach it as if we've got to protect our scenes, and I think things like this bring us all together. And one thing I noticed living overseas was there's a lot of people working together, collaborating, unifying, because the pie is bigger and everyone understands that working together builds things.
And you learn a lot, when you're working together. At school, you're, with your friends, you're not just listening to the teacher, but you're talking amongst and, kind of questioning things. And that grows and makes things happen much faster. If you look around the world at the kind of the big electronic music labels or DJs, they all have, groups of people, good people around them, or are working in collectives. Why is Minus big, around the world is because, I got together with some friends, Magda, Troy Pierce, John Geiser, Mark Hool, and it became something more than any of us. Same thing with Cocoon. It's not just about Sven Väth. It's because he brought like-minded people together. Vision Quest. Jamie Jones and Hot Natured. There's no one out there who's doing it by themselves.
I think that's really important, and as Valentino highlighted, you travel with a team, and so, some of the guys playing overseas pull in with trucks, with visuals, but having that background and that foundation of support on tour. Natty, do you find that as a DJ and your fellow DJs that you get enough support from your team, and do you see other DJs have that kind of support as well?
Yeah, man. We share a lot of ideas with my friends. I mean, even guys I don't play the same music with. Last night I was in Grahamstown. I was playing at Rhodes, and after my gig I went to see Fresh play. And we were just hanging out and talking. And we're gonna be doing a gig together in New York in March, and then we're gonna do a gig together in Miami as well. We have that. Sense of community, and also we also share ideas. How do you do what you do? Who does this for you? And we have that. But I mean, we have problems as DJs in the country. I think one of the problems I always face is sound. And it's something we always talk about, which is it's very sensitive. Some of the guys are like, look. You give people your technical rider and you get there, none of the stuff you wanted is not there. Walk away, and I don't think it's a good thing, but it compromises a lot of me when I do stay and do the gig, but these are things that we speak about and we're trying to find ways, how do we sort them out, even the pricing, how much do you charge, okay, cool. Next year, how much are you going to charge? So that we know exactly. And that builds the industry as well, as opposed to me just making sure I'm the cheapest so I get more gigs, We all grow together, So I think it's one of the things that make us strong. And every now and then we do collaborate and do gigs together.
Where do you play the most internationally, country-wise?
I don't know. I'd say Greece, I think. I just came back. I was there last weekend. The reason I say Greece is because, for the past 4 years, every summer I do like a Greece summer tour where I do different cities and different islands. I do about maybe 10 or 12 gigs, and come back. I do a lot of America as well, North America, but I think Greece is the strongest.
Valentino earlier gave us a perception sort of from Europe in terms of how international people are viewing South Africa. Obviously it's your first time here, but what was your initial perception before you came in terms of the music and the scene coming out of here?
Well, I didn't know house music was as big as it is. It's crazy down here, Everywhere you walk, you hear it. Everybody's talking about it. I think, you guys have been very lucky. Places like Australia is just, a little bit too far away from Europe sometimes, I feel. And kind of the inspiration from Europe maybe gets a little, the energy dissipates by the time it gets there. And then other places are too close to Europe and only are kind of poor imitations. And I think you guys are perfectly located. So you've been listening to Europe, you've been listening to America, but you're just cut off enough that you've kind of incubated your own scene. And that's something, wonderful. And also I think as the music has grown around the world, nobody in Europe wants to hear another European techno or house record. They want to hear something with a local flavor. And, for what I'm hearing, from your records, from, what DJ Foster was playing us in his home studio the other day, there's something, African in what I'm hearing, I couldn't make it, but I'd love to hear it. It's amazing.
So would you say that it's important for the scene maybe to keep their own personality and follow a certain sound to become more like a brand. And
yeah, I think you have to. People want to hear something from South America. Of course, people are going to travel, and you're going to get inspired. And you're going to have to just follow naturally where that takes you. Yeah, it's about you. It's not about anybody else. The first reason you should make music or DJ is to make a sound that you think is awesome, and hopefully other people do, and then just stay true to yourself.
yeah, because we were speaking, Natty, about some local artists or the younger generation of DJs and producers trying to copy a bit what is happening overseas. And we were discussing also how important it is to keep loyal to your sound and be proud of the local sound, right?
Yeah, man, that's very important. I mean, when I started out being a South African, I didn't think my music was different, So I released a few singles overseas, and and when I would do gigs there, my first gigs that I did there, and people would say to me, "It's so different," and I was wondering, I mean, how? There's a kick and a hat, like the other songs, but they would say this, and the more music I released, and it was just there. Even when I would try to change the style of music, and it used to get to me, because guys would say, "I can hear it's a Black Coffee song," and I'm like, no. I don't want that, not on this one. I was trying to make it different, and it's a very important thing. And I mean, when I got in, the first gigs that I did overseas, the first one ever was in Spain. I was taken there by Red Bull, Sona. I did their Red Bull event, Red Bull by night. It was cool. But my first gig alone, where I got a call like, "Yo, we want you to come and play," it was in Paris, and mind blowing. I got there. I couldn't speak to the people because most of them are obviously French, and but they knew the music. They were singing the songs. From my first album, which was very weird. Same with Greece, and I couldn't communicate with a lot of guys there. But when I play my songs, they would sing them. And that's when I realized even songs with like African lyrics. There's a remix I did on my first album of a track by Bantu Soul. And I had people talking. This song is big in Shelter in New York, and that song has African lyrics. And my first gig to Miami was shocked. People were singing that even. That's also how powerful music is. But when I understood that, okay, they are liking what I do as an African, and with me, I don't even try. It's who I am. I decided, okay, I will not try and imitate anyone. I'll do what even though guys will tell me, Black Coffee, right? I'm like, yeah, it is. I took that sound, and I wasn't shy anymore to try and change it. And over the years, my first gigs, I did them just to grow, and I told the guys that are representing me in Europe, and look, guys, I'm growing in South Africa, cool, but I want to grow my brand internationally as well. So my fees were very low when I started going overseas, and in the agency, I was like the lowest paid, and I didn't mind because I had a plan, and I'll say
you worked.
I worked really hard, and I'll say it out now, like I'm the highest paid in the agency now, because I had a vision and I knew what I was going for.
So I would like to give an overview to the audience of how big house music and electronic music is in South Africa. How many followers do you have on Twitter, Rich?
On, I think, 250,000 on Twitter, like 700,000 on Facebook.
400.
Okay.
It grows very fast. And you, Natty?
I'm on 165, I think, on Twitter.
You're on 300,000. These guys don't check the numbers, I think. I think when you reach the 100,000, you just forget about it. So that gives you an overview. Rich obviously is a world-known class artist and is touring all over the world. Well, Nati, you're basically playing here in South Africa and also playing around the world, but obviously not at the level or touring as much as Rich, which just gives you the engagement that you have with the local scene and how big the local scene is here in South Africa. I think this is a very important fact.
One of the things we were just talking about trying to copy other scenes or imitating, you shouldn't say, when you start off, it's one of the best ways to learn is to imitate and to copy. It's just if you spend enough time to transcend that and then, find yourself within that sound. I wanted to be Derek May when I started. You listen to my first Fuse record, and there's a couple of tracks on there that sound, me playing with a DX100 trying to sound like him. But I kept working at it, and the more I tried to make a Derek May record, the more the record started to sound like a Richie Hawtin record. But that took years, in a way. So don't worry, it's the best thing to do is find a great record that you love and try to produce it, especially for the sonics. If you want, how does that guy do that hand clap? Well, let me try and make that hand clap. And you'll find your own hand clap in that experiment.
Well, I guess most of you or many people in the room are DJs and producers. How many DJs do we have in the room? Okay. I was just wondering if someone left. And producers? Okay, so I think everyone is very excited, Rich, to know more about your DJ setup, and it's one of the highlights of the workshop, obviously. So I will ask you to move to the DJ booth and give us a quick overview.
Okay. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed this podcast as much as we do making them. Remember, if you'd like to attend any of these workshops live, enroll in any of our upcoming programs. To support the work we do, you can find more information on bridgesformusic.org. Please don't forget to subscribe, as we'll be bringing new inspiring conversations soon. Until next time, keep safe.